Welcome to the Red Dice Diaries, and it's time for another weekly video blog. Now, over the past week, I've mostly been enjoying playing in Jenny's Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay campaign, which is taking place on alternate Mondays. And after we did a bit of rejigging with the characters, I'm really enjoying that. We're pursuing the Thousand Thrones campaign, which is one I've never read before, so I've never actually played it before, so I'm looking forward to seeing how that pans out. And essentially the storyline seems to involve us, our group of characters, my character, a Bretonnian knight, Johannes playing a Nordic follower of Ulrich, and Tashif playing a slightly more academic or sheltered monk who grew up in a monastic community. And we're pursuing this scion of Sigmar, which is supposed to be an incarnation of Sigmar Heldenhammer, the patron god of the Empire in the Warhammer setting, who now allegedly walks the world in the form of this child performing miracles. But as is often the case in Warhammer, there's some unsettling undercurrents that lead me to believe that there may be some involvement of the Chaos Gods and or at least a cult of Chaos worshippers in this child's rise to power. And certainly he seems to have some great powers of persuasion, the ability for people to instantly fall in love with this sign of Sigmar, not in a romantic way, but in a protective way, in a nurturing, almost parental fashion. And it's certainly an influence that all of the player characters currently seem to be under, my own included. So I'm keen to see how that's going to work out. We saw us last session fighting against these huge Chiropta Marauder style man-bat vampire creatures, and we kicked off the session jumping straight into that combat. Very entertaining. Everyone in the group seems to gel really well, and the characters that we've currently got seem to be working really well together. Since we're all faith-based, we're all pursuing this as a matter of faith, which obviously ties in very well with the whole Sign of Sigmar and the Thousand Thrones campaign setting. We fought them off. Johannes' character was injured and we were forced to retreat while we dealt with his wounds. We eventually worked out, after fighting these creatures and failing to stop them, that this Orlok, this master vampire, whatever it may be, is attempting to get hold of the sign of Sigmar and corrupt it into a champion of darkness, perhaps even turning the scion and its strange powers into one of its own kind. Now, I'm wondering personally, out of character, although I've not really made the connection in character, whether its references to the warrior or the child of darkness is a reference to the scion as he exists at the minute. Since if the scion was created or twisted in some way by the Chaos Gods, then he would already be a child or a warrior of darkness before any additional vampirism took place by Orlok. So I'm keen to see how that's going to develop and how the story's going to progress. We rode ahead from Pfeiffeldorf, this town where we'd failed to save a lot of the people. We were just not strong enough to fight off these vampires. We left a small contingent of the Blau's Blood, who are sort of like police officers, militia, etc., there to clean up, and we raced ahead on our steeds to try and warn Altdorf, the nearest major population centre. On the way, we ran into the Scion of Sigmar's camp. He's gathered this huge group of followers around himself, and we attempted to warn the Scion about this approaching creature. When the creature did appear, we got the Scion's knights to take the Scion away somewhere safe, and we engaged the creature again on one of these huge man-bat style creatures. At one point, my character even being lifted off his horse, sort of sword stabbing into this creature, my legs flailing as I was lifted up into the air. Unfortunately, yet again, I was laid low by some severe injuries, and the session, although we drove it off, the session actually ended with my character lying on the ground, having suffered from severe internal hemorrhaging. So I'm currently in a bit of a bad way, to say the least. So only time will tell how that develops. Unfortunately, we're going to have to wait another couple of weeks to see how that turns out in the next session. In terms of other things I've been doing, I've recently come back from a LARP event for the Jackals faction of Lorien Trust, where I got to play my red cap character Larego again with a few of my friends from our group, Squad D, who went along. There's a lot of people we know outside the group there. That was a great fun event, despite the weather being a little bit sketchy, very high winds, storms, rains, etc. But despite that, everyone seemed to really enjoy themselves. It was an interesting plot, a very long running plot line involving the fate of the Southlands, the Kongassa, and whether it would fall under the rule of the ogre Amari Greytusk, who I'm pleased to say was laid waste to at the event. Unfortunately, the sacrifice of one of the members of the Jackals, Zaraster, being necessary to prevent the magics encaptured in an item known as the Screaming Stone from laying waste to the Southlands. But in the end, victory went to the players. It was a very enjoyable event. Unfortunately, I was a little bit unwell on the last day, so I missed the final battle. But overall, really enjoyed it. One of my friends, Pidge, lost his character in a bit of a shitty call, but enough of that. He bounced straight back, like a true role player does, with an interesting new character, a Fey pirate called Zurin, taking a name based on the second name of his character from my own Star Wars campaign. And he seemed to be really getting into that new character. He's already got some goals established for the future, and I think that bodes very well. I'm looking forward to seeing how his new character develops. In the week coming up, I've got the final wrap up of my Jade Punk session, just having a bit of a chat about how we think the campaign went, etc. Probably just like an hour, half an hour, whatever, and we'll put that online. And then we're going straight into the session 0 for the Chief's forthcoming Dresden Files game. Now, I've got a character sheet pretty much worked out for my character Murdoch, who is a sort of demonically possessed detective. Really looking forward to that game. I've not had much chance to play a great deal of Dresden Files. I know Chief's taking a lot of inspiration from Fate Core rather than the sort of early iteration that Fate uses, that Dresden Files uses. Sorry. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes, and I'm sure that will be placed up on the Chief's channel once that has been actually broadcast. Can't wait to actually get stuck into that game, and it's nice because it's freed me up to just concentrate on running my Star Wars campaign, and I can now just relax and enjoy playing in a couple of campaigns as well as running them. And I'm sure the Chief will run a great game. So until I see you in next week's video log, take care. Happy gaming.